In the Impact segment tonight, Donald Trump and Ted Cruz, each releasing scathing new attack ads against each other. The Cruz ad taking direct aim at Trump's business practices as a real estate mogul.
Eminent domain, fancy term for politicians seizing private property to enrich the fat cats who bankroll them, like Trump.
I think eminent domain is wonderful.
It made him rich, like when Trump colluded with Atlantic City insiders to bulldoze the home of an elderly widow for a limousine parking lot at his casino.
He doesn't have no heart, that man.
Trump won't change the system. He's what's wrong with it.
Meanwhile, the Trump ad rips Cruz over his record on immigration.
I want immigration reform to pass, and that allows those who are here illegally to come in out of the shadows.
That amendment would have allowed undocumented immigrants to remain in the U.S. permanently and obtain legal status. So how do you square that circle?
Actually, Brett, it wouldn't have.
Joining us now with reaction from Houston, Rick Tyler, Communications Director for the Cruz campaign, and from Dallas, Trump spokesperson Katrina Pearson. I'll start with you, Rick. Pretty scathing ad there, the immigration issue. He really goes right after Ted Cruz, Donald Trump does.
Yeah, except for everything in that ad has already been repudiated before the ad was put out. Everybody knows that that Ted Cruz was against the Gang of Eight. Marco Rubio had been for the Gang of Eight. And by the way, Donald Trump was for amnesty in 2013. He even tweeted out himself that, we need border security first and then we can do amnesty second. So he's on record as saying he's for amnesty. So I think this ad is designed to cover his position, which is pro-amnesty. Nobody believes Ted Cruz is ever for amnesty. He's never uttered a single statement to say he was for amnesty. He fought the Gang of Eight, and he put in that bill to make sure the Gang of Eight wouldn't pass, and it was so successful it became labeled as an amnesty bill, and Speaker Boehner wouldn't even take it up, which is why we defeated the Gang of Eight in
All right, fair enough, Rick. But Katrina, that was one of the moments of the campaign, the Cruz campaign, where the candidate really looked like he was stumbling a little bit for words. A rarity on his, he's run a very, very effective campaign, a rarity, but the Trump campaign picked that up.
Well, and I think the ad speaks for itself, Eric. I mean, when it comes to illegal immigration, there's no question that Donald Trump is leading on the issue, particularly with Cruz's support of expansion of HB1 visas and green cards, which is detrimental to American jobs in this country. But, to the Cruz ad, I'd like to point out that that ad is so misleading considering eminent domain abuse. The ad features a woman supposedly losing her property, which she didn't. That woman kept her home. But I will say that everyone that is in support of the Keystone Pipeline, like Senator Cruz, there has been a grandmother right here in his home state of Texas that has lost a farm to that corporation, which is not beholden to the United States. It's in Canada. So maybe Rick can explain that one.
Well, Rick, that has been one of the criticisms of going after Donald Trump on eminent domain. Conservatives want the Keystone Pipeline. Frankly, that thing couldn't be built without eminent domain.
Yeah, but we're not talking about the Keystone Pipeline or highways and bridges. What we're talking about is a casino parking lot that was for limousines to pull up to the parking lot, and a widow in Atlantic City lost her home over eminent domain, of which was driven by Donald Trump.
She did not lose her home.
But this is just typical of Donald Trump. Donald Trump has been for TARP, he's been for stimulus, he's been for amnesty, he's been for partial birth abortion, he's been for pro-gay marriage. Just goes on and on and on. And all of a sudden, right on the eve of this election, we have what he would like you to believe is a road to Damascus conversion to conservatism, which is why 22 prominent movement conservatives, including Brent Bozell, who's the nephew of William F. Buckley, including Cal Thomas, including Thomas Sowell, including Glenn Beck, including Dana Lash, all wrote that in their own various ways of why Donald Trump is not a conservative. Not only is he not a conservative, he wasn't even a Republican. He gave endless cash to Rahm Emanuel, Hillary Clinton, Anthony Weiner, Andrew Cuomo, the Democratic Party.
I get it. I get where you're going with it. Go ahead.
Are you getting the difference
here?
Eric?
But to Rick's point, it's interesting how he talks about someone who also was a former raging liberal who became conservative that's now telling everybody else what it means to be a conservative. But I will say they can continue to focus on positions or ideas or beliefs that he may have had 15, even 20 years ago. What matters is today. And I'll remind Rick that just 15, 20 years ago, Ted Cruz was still a Canadian citizen. Donald Trump wants to fight for this country, and he wants to make America great again.
Right,
and if we want to sit here and talk about the past, we can do that, but I don't think we want to.
You guys are throwing me a bunch of campaign rhetoric back and forth. I love the debate. Rick, I want to ask you this.
Sure.
Ted Cruz went after Donald Trump at the FBN debate, the last debate. It was a turning point. Up until that moment, they had some kind of a ceasefire going on. Ted Cruz went after him. Was that a mistake?
No, it wasn't a mistake because Donald Trump said he, had not gone after us, and then he did this sort of passive, aggressive, I'm not really concerned about the fact that Ted Cruz is born in Canada. It doesn't bother me, my goodness, and then he goes on and on and on about it. That was designed to be an attack, and then he, within a couple of days, that escalated into Ted Cruz is not qualified to be president, he should just step aside, and so we responded forcefully to that attack, and what happened is Donald Trump got punched in the nose after his attack, and, so it was a good hit because he deserved it, and so bullies could be stood up to, and when they stood up to, he backed down. That's what happened.
And Katrina,
the whole
campaign...
country had backlash after that debate. The whole country backlashed against Senator Cruz.
So talk to me about that.
Not a punch in the face.
Was Donald Trump waiting for Ted Cruz to go to take that shot so he could, as he points out, counterpunch?
Well, no, Donald Trump's not the political calculator here. He's not the one trying to manipulate people into believing other things. He's just being who he is. This did not even start to happen until Senator Cruz went after Mr. Trump. Mr. Trump has kept his word. He's not going to go after someone until they come after him. On the eligibility, Rick, it was the Cruz campaign that went after Donald Trump in a tweet that started this whole discussion. And yes, Mr. Trump is definitely going to fight back if you come after him.
Go ahead, Rick. You want to respond to it?
Well, yeah. Yeah, look, Donald Trump, for most of his life, has been a liberal progressive, has liberal progressive views that are based on New York values. Those aren't my words. Those are his words from a Meet the Press interview in 1999. And nothing has changed other than he wants to be the Republican nominee for president. But he's not a conservative. He's not reliable. He's not dependable. We don't know what he would do. He has no guiding principles. And in Washington, the art of the deal is a euphemism for you're going to get screwed.
All right. We're going to have to leave it right there. Another hot debate. Thank you very much, Katrina and Rick. Thank you.